Even if by miracle some of the payday lending companies are still in operation, if this bill is not overturned, you will be tracked by the government. Your financial information will be in a government-run database, and your financial decisions, I appreciate Bill being so kind and wanting to save us from ourselves, but, I do believe that working class Americans, Black, white, Latino, and Asian, have the wherewithal to make financial decisions without being micromanaged by the government. And having their financial information in a database that could be broken into, that has, I think, in the last couple of weeks, financial information. We know about Joe the plumber, and his financial information was broken into. How many? So the short answer to your question, sir, is they have worse options.
Do we have time for a final question, or should we? I'll ask my final question. Well, I'd like to thank the audience for your questions. And now I'm going to ask a final question to the representatives here today. And it was tough coming up with a final question, one that I could ask to both of these representatives. And I'm going to ask them sort of the same question, but slightly different versions. And Mr. Innis is going to go first, since he went last during the opening portion of the debate. Now, whether we think of payday lending as the solution or not, some people clearly have a need for relatively small short-term loans. I think that's something that everybody here can agree on. There's no lack of a demand for these loans. And the question is payday lending the solution? And if Mr. Innis, you say payday lending is the solution, how do you deal with the folks who become addicted to or trapped in these loans? And how do you deal with the repeat customers whose lives are adversely affected by being stuck in a spiral of credit? And you'll have 3 minutes to respond.
Thank you. And thank you to the City Club for this festive discussion. Let me say that, is payday lending the solution? No, of course not. It's not the solution. It's not the only solution, but it should be one of a variety of solutions available to consumers to make a reasonable choice. I mean, again, the idea of a 391% APR, what you're talking about, folks, is $15 for every $100 that is loaned out. You go and you bounce a check for $100 because you've got to pay an emergency bill on a particular day. You have a $35 fee. What's the interest rate? If it was the same rules that applied, what would the interest rate be on that? How about the person that bought the $40 Whopper because she thought she had more money in her account than she did? The reality is, be it a payday loan, be it overdraft protection, be it bouncing a check or preventing yourself from bouncing a check, what is needed, and the young man had it right, is financial literacy and more of a promotion of financial literacy. Let me say this, there is something really paternalistic about Bill's argument and about the argument of many of these folk that want to save us from ourselves, from hurting ourselves. Over 90% of the customers that take out a payday loan pay it back on time. For that 10% that don't pay it back on time, they have the opportunity to choose to get into an extended payment plan. I was told yesterday that for those that choose to get into the payment plan, over 85 to 90% of them successfully completed and paid back the loan. So obviously the overwhelming majority of individuals that take out payday loans use the product successfully. That is why those who have endorsed no on the issue include the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the Grocers Association, the Ohio Christian Alliance, the High Impact Leadership Coalition, a faith-based national organization, the Coalition Opposed to Additional Spending and Taxes, Americans for Prosperity, Dr. Tom Lehman of the Buckeye Institute, Property Rights, Freedom Fighters, National Taxpayers Union, the Call and Post, the oldest and largest African-American newspaper in this state, endorsed no on this issue. You know, I'm coming over here, I just saw that those masters of the universe on Wall Street that are getting $1 trillion payday loan, not from a private industry, but from you and from me, from the taxpayer, okay? They don't have to put their names into a government database. They don't have to be micromanaged by Bill Faith or any other do-gooder. And yet they're taking your tax dollars for $1 trillion bailout. Why can't a single mother have the ability to fix a flat tire, to get some medicine for her child because Bill Faith wants to save her from herself? That's nonsense. Thank you for the debate.
Getting back to my question was about the demand for payday loans and how clearly there's a great demand out there. And my question was, are payday loans the answer? And Mr. Faith, I assume you're going to say no to that question. But if you say no, then what other options are there currently? And if I were to ask you to get creative, what other options do you think should exist?
Not yet. Specifically, no. Payday lending, the payday lending business model is fundamentally flawed because it traps people, on average, 13 loans a year. That's the normal customer's experience with payday loans. That model is fundamentally flawed. But do I believe that people should have access to small loans if they absolutely need it? Absolutely. But, you know, the Wall Street mess was caused by not assessing borrowers' ability to repay. Unregulated lending, unregulated financial markets that not only hurt those homeowners, but hurt our neighborhoods throughout this state. That's the travesty of the Wall Street mess. They didn't act quickly enough. For once, our legislature said, we're acting quickly. We're going to get ahead of the curve on payday lending, and we're going to pass a rate cap of 28%. If people want to do small loan lending, then, you know, can't they make money at a rate that's like an extremely high credit card rate? 28%, isn't that high enough? Yeah. 28%? Yeah. I had people the other day tell me, I'm not sure I want to vote for that. I'm not sure I want to vote yes, because 28% is pretty high. And I said, well, you know what it is now? It's 391%. The ballot question is simple. Issue 5 is simple. The language is not as simple. You need to read it carefully. Because if you're concerned about payday lenders and you want to say enough is enough, you need to vote yes on issue 5. Let me respond to this other point about the database. You know, this is one of the most outrageous smoke screens the industry has thrown up. Issue 5 passes, issue 5 fails, nothing changes about a database. The payday lenders maintain a database today. It's called Teletrack. They've not had a very good track record of keeping payday lending customers' records secret either. Their employees have gotten into bank accounts. People have done identity theft through dumpster diving. They don't have a great record. But no matter what happens with issue 5, the database is there. If it was so bad, why didn't they include it in the repeal effort of issue 5? They didn't. So I encourage people to let's have a product that works for people, a product that's fair, a product that's affordable. The current product traps people in debt. That's why faith leaders from throughout the state, the Catholic bishops, the Methodist bishops, the Episcopal bishops, African-American pastors throughout the state, NAACP chapters, the evangelical megachurches, and the not-so-evangelical churches all say it's time to support a yes vote on issue 5.
Apologies to my esteemed colleague here. We had a typo that I didn't pick up. It is, of course, Eric Wellman who has acted as our moderator today. Today at the City Club, we have been listening to a debate featuring Bill Faith, representing the Vote Yes on Issue 5 committee, and Niger Innis, representing Ohioans for Financial Freedom, urging a no vote. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Eric Wellman and 90.3, and thank you, audience. This forum is now adjourned.